What is the biggest mistake people make when thinking about how to be more happy?
The first mistake that people always make is thinking it's a feeling. Because they have feelings of happiness and they have feelings of unhappiness. But most people are not brought up as kids learning about the functioning of the brain's limbic system. I mean, that's not standard educational fare. But the limbic system is the console of tissue inside your brain between 2 and 40 million years old. It predates Homo sapiens. It's really it's a mammalian feature of the brain. That's the console that creates emotions, which are signals that you have ascertained a threat or an opportunity. I mean, we sentimentalize our emotions, feelings, right? As if that's what makes us human. No, feelings don't make you human. Feelings keep you alive. And it keeps your golden retriever alive. And it keeps the mouse alive in much the same way. And you have positive and negative emotions that signal to your brain, that are signaling to you that you've perceived a threat or an opportunity. You know, that's what it's all about, is what it comes down to. Now, when things are pleasant, when you've seen an opportunity, when something inspires you and you have a positive emotion, you mistake the positive emotion for the happiness itself. And that's an error, because if you go searching for happy feelings, I mean, you're going to go as a vapor. You're going to go to bed at night saying, I sure hope I feel happy tomorrow. And that's a hell of a way to live. That's not good living, is what it comes down to. So you have to get beyond that. Now, the way to think about it is this, from the culinary aspect, because this is, or the doctor's kitchen after all. You feelings and happiness are related much the same way that the smell of your dinner is related to your dinner. Feelings are evidence of dinner.
Okay.
They lead you to do particular things, and they're something special is going on at mom's house because of the smell, but it's not good enough to content yourself with the smell. You got to go for the dinner. And so therefore you describe dinner. I mean, how we would talk about it as, people involved in science, dinner itself, if you want it to be nutritious, filling and good, you talk about as macronutrients. You define food. And that's what we do with happiness, is to define happiness.
Okay. And so what would be these macronutrients of happiness?
Macronutrients of and by the way, this is sort of the basis of my work, which is when I move fully into the happiness space. The problem with the research from a psychological perspective is it defines happiness as feeling happy and knowing that you're happy, or something that's completely unhelpful in this way. So I went back to the nutrition literature actually to create a definition for happiness that is both accurate and helpful. You don't tell somebody, go be happy. Yeah. It's unhelpful. What you tell somebody is do things so that happiness can find you. Live in a particular way. So don't go be healthy. No, eat in a particular way and health will find you.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, this is kind of this is how you talk, right?
It chimes very much with the way I talk.
Absolutely.
Because we already have the inherent knowledge, and our body knows what to do with the macronutrients when you provide an environment where they are. Yeah.
I mean, you tell somebody who's trying to, basically get in shape, but they're trying to be efficient about it. Stay to, I don't know, maybe 2,200 calories a day and get 175 grams of protein and then eat clean and a few other things with your micronutrients, and health will find you. Your lipid profile will improve, right? The same thing as happiness. So the macronutrients of happiness, the thing that we really want to pursue are the protein, carbohydrates, and fat of happiness are enjoyment, satisfaction, and meaning. Okay. Those are the three things. And how do I know that? When you look at the well-validated studies and good survey data on happiness and unhappiness, the happiest people have those three macronutrients in balance and abundance. So what I spend a lot of my time on is, I'm going into companies and I'm talking to people, I'm teaching my students at the university, and I'm giving them tests to see where they're deficient. I'm giving them nutritional tests for their happiness. And I can tell based on these tests if you don't enjoy your life enough. Now, the problem is also, this is more complicated because most people don't even know what enjoyment is. So I have to define the macronutrients, right? Most people have no idea what satisfaction is, and they especially don't know what meaning is. So that goes into the education behind all of this stuff, and it gets super interesting. But once you know, and then you know where you're deficient, you can put together a life plan, and your life gets dramatically better.
Let's talk about this idea of rewiring our brains for happiness.
Right.
Why does boredom help rewire our brain for happiness?
Yeah. This is really paradoxical because there's so many things in our lives that we don't like, but we need, right? There's so many things like that. This is, when you're a kid and your mother said, eat your vegetables. when you're a little kid, you probably don't like them. Personally, I was nuts about vegetables. I've been eating broccoli since I was a little boy. I would eat literally at every meal.
You sound like my son.
I'm crazy about broccoli, but that's unusual, right?
Yeah.
Eat your vegetables. Why? Because you don't like it, but you should, is what it comes down to. There are all kinds of things where we have aspirations that are not of accord with our immediate animal impulses. Short-term, long-term, big goals. It's like satisfaction in the short term versus the goals that you actually want in life. And, you want the pizza. You want the potato chips. You call them crisps.
Yeah.
Chips, you call it, or French fries. I mean, it's so confusing over here, right? You want that stuff because it actually, it feeds the dopamine circuits in your brain, telling you you're getting these really easy calories, which is your Pleistocene brain from 250,000 years ago. But that that's maladapted to the current milieu where we have an abundance of calories and we have all kinds of nutritious food around us. And so you don't do all the things that you actually want is the way that this works. Boredom is just like that. Now, boredom, it's maybe not the right word. It's lack of distraction. When you're undistracted, what turns on in your brain is a series of structures called the default mode network. That's a bunch of structures that you use in concert with one another. It's like a little symphony in your brain that gives you mind wandering and flights of fancy and weird recursive thoughts. And that's what you need to start understanding the meaning of your life. Now, if you're never distracted, you'll never actually turn on the parts of your brain that you need to consider the most important things. That doesn't feel important. I mean, you're sitting on the train and your phone is out of battery or something, which is like hell for young people. If you die and go to hell, it's like you're holding your iPhone and it's out of battery forever. Right? And it's stuck to your hand, right? So imagine you're on the train and this is actually happening. You got nothing to do. You got nothing to read. And so you're just looking out the window. Sheep, trees, right? That it feels like a waste of time. And it's actually unpleasant in the short term, but your brain needs to do that. Mother Nature wants your brain to do that. And for the longest time, you naturally did. I mean, my great-grandfather, Leroy Brooks, born in 1862 in Olathe, Kansas. This is Americana.
Right, yeah.
It was generations before that. They came from, Lancashire. They snuck out at night in 1630 and came to Massachusetts and then went going west. Very American. And Leroy Brooks had no iPhone. He had no podcasts, not even yours or mine. Shocking. He had nothing to do. He was just behind the mule all day long. But I guarantee you he never came home to my great-grandmother, Mary Ellen, and said, honey, I had a panic attack behind the mule today. Because his brain was working the way it was supposed to. His HPA axis wasn't flooding. He wasn't having this weird adrenal effects actually happening, which happens when your brain isn't working the way it's supposed to. When you're actually you never have these flights of fancy, when you never have this mind wandering, when you're never able to calm yourself. Now, the biology is what we're studying right now, but the reason that we have to study this biology and why people are having so much anxiety and so much depression and panic attacks has everything to do with the fact that our brains are broken in no small part because we're never bored. And so I have to prescribe boredom to my students. It's amazing. And for anybody who's still unpersuaded, Leroy, his life, moment to moment, was objectively boring, right? He was looking at a mule's butt, right? Hours. But his life wasn't boring, right? His life overall wasn't boring at all. He didn't say on his deathbed, honey, that was boring.
Yeah.
It wasn't boring. It was a huge adventure. His life was, he was living and loving and having kids and having grandkids and making a living and talking to his neighbors. And he was alive, going to church. He was fully alive, right? People today, young people, but also, I'm no young guy. And I know a lot of people my age. They're never bored moment to moment, but their lives are grindingly boring. That's the irony. That you must be bored moment to moment to have an interesting life. And that's what you need to understand meaning and purpose and be happy.
I've recently started doing a lot more dives into Ayurveda. Getting back to my roots, understanding where a modern scientific lens can actually provide some clarity as to why certain practices are beneficial. And one of them is silence. So every year now, for the last couple of years, I do silent retreats where there's no talking, no reading, certainly no phones, no email. You just walk around, usually in like places that are stunningly beautiful, like the Lake District, or I was recently in Devon a couple of months ago for 4 or 5 days, and I sit on a bench, I eat some food, and that's about it. And I just allow my mind to wander, and I sort of unpack loads of things like my childhood and what things make me happy, and what, ponder some of these questions, but without the extreme of doing something like a Vipassana.
That's hard.
It is hard for a lot of people, and I mentioned this to my wife, and that sounds like hell to her. Like she famously tells
She's a
me,
Westerner. I mean, so are you, but she has this like she's Australian, right?
Yeah, she's Australian, Italian by background, but 30 minutes of like boredom for her is like, wow, even that. So how would you prescribe boredom to your students or the folks listening to this?
So I usually do it with respect to not using tech, because this is really what we're talking about, is not using tech. I mean, and again, we could back up and say, okay, 20 years and say, don't watch too much TV, or you could go back and before that and say, stop listening to the radio all the time, or you could go back and Einstein one time said that people read too many books. And part of the reason was because deep learning doesn't come from reading 5 books a week. That's just an overload of knowledge. There's an ancient philosophical concept called concupiscence, and that's just idle curiosity. And a lot of so-called intellectuals, they just want to flood themselves with information all the time, more stimulus. And part of the reason is because they don't want to be lost in their thoughts to process what they've learned and figure out what it means. And so when you read a book, you should read a book, and then you should put it down, and you should take some notes, and you should think about it and journal on it a little bit, and go walk around and figure out what the book means. That's the way to learn, right? That's the whole idea. Now, fast forward to the present, it's gotten easier and easier and easier to distract ourselves, to the point that we have this perfect anti-boredom device. I mean, we've mastered anti-boredom and broken our brains completely. I mean, it's like, I would love to be back in the problem of books, right? So I have protocols that are, based on, there's a lot of research on this. You don't have to throw your phone in the ocean. You don't have to actually become a monk. I interviewed for my own show a hermit in the Himalayas last year. A Tibetan hermit, and he sees other humans 2 times a year for the past 27 years.
Wow.
Yeah, he granted me an interview. It's just me and the hermit and a bunch of monkeys.
Wow.
Yeah, so his friends are all these monkeys. Right? And he meditates all day, and he reads and he studies, and he lives the Tibetan Buddhist life.
Gosh.
And then when he's asleep, people from the who serve the hermitage will come up the mountain and leave some food, once a week or something. And it's pretty interesting. But okay, you don't have to do that.
Sure.
I'm not going to do that.
I thought my Vipassana was extreme, but that's another level.
And by the way, that goes from solitude, which you need, to isolation, which is really, really hard and bad for a lot of people, that you become very lonely. So what I recommend based on the science is that there's really only kind of 3 things you need to do. Number 1 is tech-free times, ideally every day. The second is tech-free zones, physical zones. And then the last is tech fasts, like what you've done, like what you did with Ayurveda. So the tech-free times that really matter the most are, number 1, the first hour of the day for neurocognitive programming. A lot of young men write to me, and nobody writes to me and say, hey professor, I just want to write and say, I'm feeling super happy and I wanted you to know. I mean, they don't come to you and say, doctor, I feel great. People write to me because they're unhappy, right? And they ask for advice. And a lot of young guys, my heart goes out to them. I'm living with my mom. I graduated from college. I can't find a job. I'm smoking a lot of weed, and all these things are not good. I don't care what anybody says. Smoking weed's bad for you, right? Euphorics are not good for you, as a matter of fact, because they're anesthetizing you from the experience of living because you're in distress. That's what it comes down to. So what the first thing that I recommend to them is something that in India is called the Brahma Muhurta. Have you ever heard of this, the Brahma Muhurta? It means the creator's time in Sanskrit.
Okay, no.
Ancient idea. It's between 4,000 and 6,000 years old, and so it's varies kind of from the idea of Lord Krishna practiced in Mathura, practiced the Brahma Muhurta, the creator's time. That's getting up. A Muhurta is 48 minutes. The Brahma Muhurta is 2 Muhurtas before dawn, an hour and 36 minutes before dawn.
Okay.
Yeah, getting up an hour and 36 minutes before dawn. Now, modern neuroscience is very clear that getting it before dawn is super good for you.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
the sun is warm when you
Yeah.
get up, you lost the first battle. I know everybody's like turning off the podcast. Right
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
right?
straight. Especially in British summertime, we have to
I
get
know.
up at like 3:30.
That's a problem. I know. I mean, don't make the perfect the enemy of the good. This is from cultures that are pretty close to the equator. So
yeah.
and so you were really far north in Europe. I'm from Seattle. It's the same thing as the same latitude. So, but basically, it's getting up early, and then without your phone. Now, some people, like you're running a business, if you're a journalist, whatever, you got to look to make sure nothing's on fire. But that takes 5 seconds. Boom. And then the whole first hour, which is the most important hour for neurocognitive programming. So people who have OCD or people who have nervous tics or something like that, the only way that you're going to break tic-like behavior is by the only time that willpower is actually helpful in that is the first hour of the day, because you neurocognitively program yourself. The only hope you have, if you have something that's obsessive and compulsive, is to not do it the first hour, because you're not going to break that tick at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So the first hour of the day is a magic hour. It's the creator's time. And so using that, and I'll tell these young guys, go for a walk without your devices while the sun is coming up and the air is cool, and let your mind wander. Yeah, but I'm thinking about stupid nonsense. And I'm thinking about that girl. And who knows, I will have thought obsessively. I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah.
People don't understand meditation. Westerners are horrible about meditation. The Dalai Lama told me that Westerners do it wrong, right? It's like you guys just want to be all spaced out. The Dalai Lama, right? He says, and you just meditate so you can feel better. You should meditate so the whole world feels better. He told me. That's very profound.
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
So don't worry about it. Let your brain do what it's supposed to do. It's first hour of the day. Second, tech-free time is when you're eating. And there's special properties. I recommend that you eat alone as infrequently as possible.
Okay.
It's very good to eat with another person. And this is actually according to evolutionary biology, this is when we get a lot of oxytocin, because we communicate with our kin while we're eating. We're sort of evolved to sit around a campfire and talk to our kin while we put, pieces of yak meat into our mouth or something. That's a normal thing to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do eat alone, but you should really never scroll while you eat. You should not eat mindlessly. And especially when you're with somebody, the phone shouldn't even be on the table face down, because that will interrupt the oxytocin exchange that you have. The third is the last hour of the day. And that's really, really important for sleep architecture. And that's all the stuff that everybody who watches the show already knows.
For sure.
I mean, the functioning of the pineal gland because of blue light and endogenous melatonin production and structure of sleep, etc.
Yeah.
But it's also highly spiritual and social. The last hour of the day, you and your wife need to be together.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a holy hour.
Yeah.
That's a really big deal. And, the worst thing you can do for your marriage is scroll your phones looking at stupid reels individually while you're lying in bed.
Yeah.
That's such a waste of a marriage.
Yeah.
I really recommend that people read to each other and then look into each other's eyes and have a little conversation for 5 minutes before they go to sleep. This is really, really good for your sleep.
Yeah.
This is super good. I mean, don't read individually, read to each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that has special properties and the science backs it up. But, anybody who's in love right now is like, I know. Right. So for me, it's like my wife reads to me in this exotic Barcelona accent. It's like pharmaceutical grade narcotics. Addictive indeed, but it actually won't put me in an early grave.
Yeah.
It might actually keep me alive. So those are the 3 tech-free times. Is first hour, last hour, meal times.
Yeah.
Tech-free zones are number 1 is the bedroom. You should not have your phone in the bedroom. You should be locked up and plugged in downstairs from an hour before you go to bed until an hour after you wake up.
Yeah.
Never look at it during the night. Now, if you do that for 6 weeks, you'll be out of the habit of ever looking at it at night. You can even use it as your alarm clock after that, but you got to break the habit. Right?
Yeah.
And the second tech-free zone is schools. And I'm a real advocate for this. There shouldn't be any iPhones in any schools from kindergarten through PhD.
Totally.
I mean, it's so insane
Yeah.
that we abuse children by putting predators on their screens and hijacking their brains this way. It's made so many kids depressed and anxious by having unfettered access. They're so lonely, and especially during lunch, by the way, they shouldn't have their phones. And so we have all kinds of technologies to lock them up at the beginning of the day and unlock them at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Then the last is tech fasts, and I recommend 96 hours a year.
96 hours.
More is
okay.
better,
Yeah.
but I mean, for most people you can't. But 96 hours a year, I mean, just a 4-day fast it's the first day it's like lost children screaming in your head.
Yeah.
The second day you're calming down, your autonomic nervous system is starting to, and then the third day you like it, and the fourth day you wish it were longer.
Yeah.
That's the typical experience.
Yeah.
And then if you go longer or do it more frequently, you can really, really reset how dopamine is working in your brain. And Anna Lemke's stuff is really good on that.
Yeah.
She wrote Dopamine Nation.
Yeah.
And she talks about how long it takes, and just a little bit longer than that. But 96 hours a year, those are the things that you can do.
So, you know what? It sounds simple and almost, laughable that we've been talking about this, but the number of people who do scroll back to back or scroll at the table is shockingly high. And I don't think people understand the gravity of what these habits are doing to steal their happiness. And this is why I wanted to talk to you about rewiring your habits for happiness. One thing that I've definitely been doing a lot more of is finding micro moments in the day to experience boredom.
Right.
Because running a business and doing the social content stuff, I'm running from screen to screen. And I think a lot of people do that in the workplace as well. And so I'm even trying to steal like 60 to 120 seconds where I go outside and I just look outside. In fact,
Those
I did
boredom
this.
snacks.
Exactly, boredom snacks. That's actually a good way of framing it. You know?
I mean, more and more what we're actually finding in the psychology literature, but also just basic biology, because psychology is biology, right? Fundamentally, is that almost anything good for you is really good in snacks. And so Rhonda Patrick, right? You know her show. Do you know? Have you been on her show before?
I haven't been on her show.
She's
No.
phenomenal.
She is great.
She's smart. She's nice. She's
We're
deep.
great.
She's
We're big fans of
philosophical.
her. Yeah,
she's great. And she talks about exercise snacks. So just could do 10 air squats.
Totally.
Once an hour. Do 10 air squats once an hour. It has huge benefits they've done studies on your lipid profile when you do 10 air squats every hour during the workday, your lipid profile gets better. I mean, you have less plaquing in your arteries. Crazy stuff that you can actually see.
Absolutely.
And it's better than a lot of other things. So for sure, boredom snacks. That's a really, really good thing to do. And just, if you need to, put an alarm on your phone, and once an hour, get up and go look out the window.
Yeah, we had Andy Galpin on the pod a couple of months ago. He's awesome as well. And we were talking about volume and intensity when it comes to exercise.
Right.
But you don't need to do that all in like an hour and a half every single day. You can actually spread that out.
Right.
And as long as it's across the week, you get enough volume, you're going to have those benefits for muscles. And
for sure.
And
actually, one of the things I talk about, because I'm very, very interested in health and fitness as it relates to happiness, but also it's just a big, big part of my life. I have physical protocols that I actually walk people through, 5-10 part protocols for, the beginning of the day, the ending of the day, because people need guidelines is what it comes down to.
Let's talk about those.
Yeah, for sure. But for people my age, when I was how old are you?
I'm 41.
Oh, you're a mere child. You're a mere child. And look
I'm
at
glad
that
you're telling me that.
beautiful head of hair. Black hair. Unbelievable. I remember those days. But so I'm 62 at this point. And, Andy Galpin stuff is really,
great.
But I've figured out how to just both stay in shape and stay healthy.
Yeah.
And the way that you do that, for example, with exercise is doing exactly what Andy Galpin is talking about. When I was your age, I was doing bro splits.
Yeah.
Do you use that expression over here? The bro split? And so, Monday is National Chest Day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you get one leg day. It's like using Mike Mincer's you're just going to wreck your joints. Right. And so I went to, when I was your age, I've been on the road forever. I've been touring since I was 19 years old. So I travel all the time. Every city I would be in, I would go to the oldest iron gym I could find. Right, it's like those old school weightlifting gyms, and I would find
all with a picture of Arnie on
totally. And I would find those guys who knew him at Gold's Gym at Venice Beach.
Yeah, nice.
And now they're like 100, right? But they're still lifting. And I would go to them and I would say, "Teach me, sensei. Teach me." Right, and they will, right? And so they gave me all these practices. And one of the things that I learned way before guys like Andy Galpin were talking about it are you need to. The older you get, the less the bro split's going to work for you. The more you need to do full body training and spread out your volume over the course of the week. And so instead of doing leg day once a week, then it became 2 times a week, then it's 3 times a week. And it's paradoxical because I work out an hour a day, 7 days a week. I can lift 7 days a week. I just have to spread everything out, and then my joints don't hurt.
Gotcha.
And I get the same amount of volume.
Yeah.
Is the whole point. So you got to have the protocols that are appropriate to your age.
Yeah. I love how we started this conversation talking about happiness, and now we're talking about bro splits. But it's really important to spread it out, just, whilst we're on this tangent. Because when you do get older, you've got anabolic resistance is the first thing. So, the protein that you consume is not going to have the same desired effect. And the same goes for muscle stimuli. Right. But it doesn't mean that you can't have that stimulus. But the other thing is you've really got to be careful about injury. I mean, I'm realizing this now at 41. Right. I can't do some of those intense exercises back to back anymore. I do need to spread out over the
Your
week.
CNS works differently. I mean, it's just you feel things differently.
Totally,
Not just the mechanics of it.
Yeah,
for sure. So a lot of my work to actually become, look, what we want is to be happier people with more well-being overall, and that requires that you pay attention to your temple. I mean, you have to take care of your body is what it comes down to. So what I put in my body, what I do with my body, also what I think about and how I worship and how I love, it's all one thing.
Yeah.
Actually. So which is one of the reasons that my students in the Science of Happiness class, I'm giving them exercise protocols.
I love that. That's great.
I know. And they're super interested in it, right? They thought they wanted to exercise so they could look better in their bikini or something like that. No. Yeah. It's so that you can look in the mirror and not start crying. So you can actually... right? And so you can actually feel better about your soul is really what it comes down to. It's not all about what you put in your body. Yeah. It's not all about how you move, but it's all integrated. It's all really one thing is how it comes about. So I do have to give them step by step protocols. How do you start your day? How do you end your day, et cetera? How do you, if you have a relationship, what do you do? What are the, the protocols, daily practices to make sure that you don't just get married, but you stay married?
Yeah. Yeah, right? Absolutely. Yeah. On the subject of temples and soul, one of the things that I took from the book was this idea of being made to feel small every day, and it be aware of how insignificant we are to use your words, to transcend. Why is this important for rewiring our brains for happiness?
There's a lot of new literature on consciousness. Have you read Michael Pollan's new book?
I haven't read the new one. No.
A World Awaits. It's a really, really fine book.
Okay,
it's good. I mean, he's a journalist, so he's not a scientist, but he's adjacent to science and knowledgeable enough, and he's a beautiful writer. That and consciousness is a hard thing to write about.
Very hard.
You write a book about consciousness, you got to be a good writer to pull that one off, right? But there's a paradox. Okay, consciousness is the experience of life. It's the experience of being you. It's like something to be you. It's your interiority. It's the inner conversation. It's the awareness of you. And it's a huge paradox because neuroscientists have never figured out the part of the brain where you experience self-consciousness. I mean, you do all kinds of other things where you're aware of other things. We know the parts of the brain that do that. Where you have feelings, we do that. Those are lower forms of consciousness. The highest form of consciousness is you being aware of you. But paradoxically, too much of that makes you deeply unhappy. So William James, the father of modern psychology, who taught at my university in the late 19th century. So my colleague, William James, right? How pretentious. He talked about the two selves, the I self and the me self. The I self is what you use to look out at the world. And the me self is your consciousness of yourself, looking in at yourself. So one is you're the subject and one is where you're the object. The I self is I'm looking at you right now. I'm thinking about you in this conversation right now. But if I were thinking, I wonder how I'm coming off in the things that I'm saying right now. Just now, I boomeranged it back on myself.
Gotcha.
So the highest form of consciousness is the me self, and your dog doesn't have any me self. I mean, it's like you're sitting there with your dog on a park bench, and you're thinking about my job and what I'm going to do next year, and prospectively, all my hopes and dreams. You're not here. You're not that happy. Your dog is thinking about, I'm sitting with my master right now. All right. I'm not thinking about me. I'm thinking about what actually is happening. And that's what you're trying to get with mindfulness practices and all that, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
The easiest way to get that is what philosophers call transcendence. See, you have to have the me self or you'll get run over by a car. You have to have self-awareness.
Sure.
Or you'll be divorced in a week. You have to be paying attention to yourself. but not too much, because it'll make you miserable. Because then it's me. And back to the internet, by the way, that's all it is a mirror.
Yeah.
Like, how many likes do I have?
Yeah.
You know, how many followers do I have? What did people think about my post?
Yeah.
Right. You know, how, you know, that famous movie star, how do I relate to that? You're thinking about yourself all the time. So you need fewer mirrors, and you need to stand in awe of things that are bigger than yourself. That's transcendence. To transcend yourself is to be more purely in the I self, in the state of observation. You know, Zen Buddhism. Have you studied Zen Buddhism at all? Zen Buddhism, of course, which is the Buddhist component, which is largely in Japan. It's less a religion. You know, the Zen Buddhists are all going to write into the comment section now. It's more an attitude of observation.
Okay.
Right? As I'm going to observe life. Vipassana is very much like this too, by the way. You've done that.
Yeah.
I'm going to observe what's going on with me without relating to me.
Yeah.
It's like, Arthur's feeling sad and unhappy right now. What's happening? You know, and just with a detachment to it, right? The ultimate detachment that you want is standing in awe of the universe. Now, maybe that's by studying philosophy that blows your mind. Maybe that's listening to the fugues of Johann Sebastian Bach, the greatest composer who ever lived, right? I'm an old musician, so it's my opinion. Maybe that's walking the Brahma Muhurta without devices. Maybe that's a Vipassana meditation practice, which I strongly recommend. Or maybe that's practicing your religious faith, which is the easiest way for many people to do it. You know, a lot of people wind up reconnecting with their faith because they realize they need more transcendence in their life, and then they have an actual experience of of God, and so they have a deep spiritual awakening. They have a deep sense of divine love, but they go there because they need the I self more. They need to be in transcendence more. I mean, I'm a traditionally religious person. Before we did the podcast, I went to mass. I go to daily mass, right? Yeah. I need it. I need it. I need to stand in awe. I need to be separated from me because it's just too hard every day.
And so every day, I mean, it was great that, you know, you mentioned that you went to mass today. If someone isn't traditionally religious or doesn't have wasn't brought up in a faith, or didn't have the opportunity to stand in awe, how might one start that with regards to actually feeling this sense of getting out of themselves,
the me self,
yeah.
That's why so many young people say, I wish I could do more meditation, is because they have a natural hunger to get out of the me self.
Yeah.
And they think that single point meditation, where you're looking at that thing and getting all spaced out, they're looking for relief. They want relief. I want relief is what they're saying. They want but that's too hard for most people. Most of the meditation among the Tibetan Buddhists, I've worked for a long time with the Dalai Lama. I've sat in meditation with his monks many times in his monastery in Dharamsala in the Himalayan foothills. And most of what they're doing is actually contemplating a passage of Tibetan scripture. And that's the I self. And so you don't have to stare, like do soul cycle and, you know, have an intention and I mean, you don't have to do that. Yeah. I mean, more power to you if you can actually pull that off. But I got the monkey mind too bad.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like single point meditation, like, it's not for me.
Yeah.
But you can do that by the contemplation of an idea.
Yeah.
You know, what does this mean? Turning it over in your head, you know, 2 sentences. What might this actually mean? Some people will actually do that through the study of something intensive or a particular activity. I've heard people talk about this through golf. It's like, not my thing, man. I'm not a golfer. I'm never going to be a golfer. It's like, it's so boring. Are you kidding? Also, it kind of irritates me.
Yeah.
You know? I think I'm philosophically opposed to it. But that's just my own hang up.
Sure,
so
yeah.
Now the golfers are writing it. Right?
Yeah.
So much of the golf constituency for the doctor's kitchen.
They're gone.
They're out of here, man.
No more sponsorships from Top Golf.
We love you guys.
Yeah.
So it's people find this in different ways, but you need to get away from yourself. You need to find ways to get away from yourself. That Brahma Muhurta is a sort of a wonderful way to do it in its own way. After you get sort of experienced at the very beginning, your flights of fancy and mind wandering are kind of me self. But you can get better at it under those
Definitely.
circumstances. There are a number of ways. People just should experiment.
One of my friends took me to a Baha'i temple just outside of Chicago.
Yeah.
Have you been to that temple?
Yeah, it's up in the northern suburbs in Winnetka or someplace.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have one of my great friends is Baha'i, and so I've written about the Baha'i faith
It's
quite a bit.
incredible.
Yeah.
Like it is. I mean, talk about a way in which to get out of yourself.
Yeah.
Just going there. So for listeners who haven't seen it, just look up, Baha'i Temple, Chicago. And it's just this dome structure that you could imagine somewhere in the Middle East.
Right.
And it's perfectly symmetrical. The architect, I think, was really well renowned. And the Baha'i faith is just really interesting, from an intellectual perspective of, this sort of combination of all these different faiths with this idea of oneness. And I mean, that's how I try and remind myself to, experience awe and experience that this idea of like, transcending.
Yeah, for sure. The Baha'i faith is a 19th century faith that came out of Persia. It's a Persian, it's a Persian belief system that's quite universalist. It's monotheistic. It believes that there is one God. It's highly structured and moral in its way. The prophet of the Baha'i faith, his name was Baha'u'llah.
Okay.
And he wrote lovingly about the universe. So one of my great friends is Rainn Wilson. I write about him in the Meaning book.
Okay.
About suffering. For those who don't know, because we're in the UK, he was in The Office, the American version of The Office, and it was a character named Dwight Schrute.
Oh yeah.
In The Office, I think the American version is way funnier.
Now
we lost Ricky Gervais
as
a viewer. I bet he's a viewer too.
My wife would agree.
It's super funny. It's still actually the funniest show on television, even though it went off a long time ago. And the Baha'i faith really has saved him.
Gotcha.
It really, he grew up in it. His father converted in like the 60s because a lot of hippies did that. And there's still 175,000 Baha'is in America.
Yeah.
We're so religious. We love religion. You sophisticated,
I mean, I was really surprised that there were that many followers in the US. I'd never heard of it before. It was just so by chance I was in Chicago. My friend told me to go to this temple, and I was like, wow, yeah. No,
people should check it out. It's very, very beautiful faith.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. Okay, so we've got boredom, we've got these morning routines and feeling small every day. Leisure.
Yeah.
Leisure, when I think about leisure, I think of things like golf, even though I don't play golf, but sports and all the rest of it. But why is leisure helpful from the perspective of happiness? And what do you mean when you say leisure?
When I talk about leisure, it's largely leisure, as you say, leisure.
Yeah.
Leisure.
Leisure.
When I talk about leisure, I work a lot with strivers. I mean, I teach at fancy business schools and, people who they're going to be the masters of the universe. And I work with, CEOs and entrepreneurs and people like you. I mean, you work all the time, don't you?
Yeah.
You're a super hard worker.
I love it.
Yeah, of course. Of course you love it. You're obsessed with it, right? But also it can become a pathology. And part of the reason is because your loved ones will say you need more work-life balance, but you don't want work-life balance. You want your work to be part of your life and your life to be part of your work. You want work-life integration. And you recognize you don't want to marginalize your relationships. What you want is to have better relationships and to love your work and to live it all. There are a lot of people out there who don't live that way. Many, many people. They're not going to be watching the show typically, but there are many people out there. It's like, yeah, I want to work for the post office and I want to work, 8 hours a day. If we're in the UK, it's, 3 hours a day if it's France. And they want to work a kind of a moderate amount of work, and then they want to forget their work when they come home. But that's not what I'm talking about here. People who are looking for a deep integration of life and work, they often get into a pathology that we often refer to as workaholism. And the only satisfaction that you actually get is from work. And what I prescribe to a lot of them to have a better life and better relationships is to understand the true nature of leisure. Leisure is not chilling on a beach. It's not like, it's actually the people who are, as sunburned as lobsters down on the Costa Brava, those Brits who are down there all the time, they're actually working in the post office, right? But real leisure isn't that. That's what the Greeks would have called acedia, which is just kind of torpor, which is sort of a laziness. The Greeks were not. They were not very. They were not in favor of chilling on a beach. What they really wanted, and what the German philosopher Josef Pieper talks about. He's a 20th century philosopher, a really beautiful deeply soulful writer. He thinks that leisure, properly understood, is the basis of a culture. And so what I prescribed a lot, I don't do clinical work, but I'm a teacher, to people who don't know how to relax, is to understand leisure properly. And in so doing, your work will become more meaningful. So that's the inducement, all the workaholics and success addicted, self-objectifying people who, it's like, if I work harder, will you love me more?
Yeah.
Is that your work will be much better if you understand actual leisure. Now, leisure is something that's extremely generative and productive, but they don't pay you for, that you don't get worldly rewards for, that you're not going to get famous for, that won't give you more power, won't do anything for your bank account, but it's really, really productive. So the way to think about it, according to Josef Pieper, is to do one of three things. Now, again, your results may vary. Figure out which one and then vary it in a way that's, you got to experiment on yourself, right? Like anything else. We talked about caffeine and, the metabolism of caffeine and half-life, et cetera. Figure out yourself by experimenting on yourself. The three areas are deepening relationships very purposively, like doing stuff to improve your marriage, doing stuff to improve your relationship with your friends. The second is to deepen your spiritual life. And that means like go read the holy books. I mean, have you read the Bhagavad Gita? A lot of people haven't. Especially if you're a Hindu, go read that. It's unbelievably interesting, and study that. Go study the writings of Baha'u'llah if you're Baha'i, or even if you're not, right? And for a Christian like me, that's actually reading Holy Scriptures every day, and praying every day, and getting a really serious spiritual practice. And if it's not a spiritual practice, it's something transcendental. The third is learning something new. Learning something that you don't need to learn. Maybe you need to learn how to paint. That's what Churchill did. Churchill learned how to paint. Nobody said, let's elect him again because he's a painter, right? He was learning how to paint because that was actually leisure for him. Yeah. And he said, and he was so interested in it, he said, if I go to heaven, which is debatable, he's a great leader, but imperfect man. If I go to heaven, the first 1,000,000 years, I'm going to really learn how to paint. And for other people, it's learning how to golf. For other people, it's actually learning to do math. For some people, it's actually learning about the science of happiness. Yeah. For many people, it's actually watching your show and actually doing the recipes. Yeah. That's a really wonderful form of leisure, as a matter of fact, because it's so generative. Those three baskets, if taken seriously, and that means doing them seriously. That means setting aside time. That means having a proper Sabbath on the weekend, perhaps, to do those things. Your work's going to improve.
What are you doing yourself for leisure, as you pronounce it?
So for my leisure, largely, is a lot of it has to do with my physical fitness practices, which is really important. Yeah. It's not just because I want it's not like because I'm trying to be beautiful. That ship has sailed, man. It's because I want to be healthy for my family, and I actually want to feel good, and I want to be productive. But also because it's something I'm just really interested in. Yeah. Nobody's going to pay me for biceps. Like, God knows. That's number one. The second thing is I'm serious about practicing my religious faith. Yeah. I want to know more about it. My wife, too, by the way, she wound up getting her graduate training in theology, sacred scripture, because she wanted to know. I want to know. I need more, she said. And I've learned so much from her, and we do deep spiritual practices together, and we both attend mass every day, and that's leisure, according to Josef Pieper. Yeah. Most people don't think of church as leisure. It is. Yeah. If you understand it properly. Yeah. And then we work seriously on our marriage. And one of the things that we've actually done is we've taken to my wife and I. We've been married 35 years. We've started touring together, talking to couples about how to stay married. And it doesn't pay as well as me going out on my own. It doesn't pay as well as the typical keynotes, et cetera. Yeah. I don't care. Because kind of blending work and leisure in this, because we're working on our marriage. We're deepening our relationship. One of the things that long married couples, the reason that they cool on each other is they start with this big project, kids. Right, you've got your little
20-month-old
boy. Yeah,
full
you've got
of
your
energy.
son. That's a big project, man. Big project. Yeah, and they grow up, and it gives you a lot of satisfaction, joint satisfaction, which is part of a happy marriage. Satisfaction is the joy from an accomplishment with struggle. That's a big part of happiness, and a big part of marital happiness is jointly accomplishing something with struggle together. And what most people do to get that is having children, but they grow up, you'll see.
Yeah.
And they move away and they have their own lives. You better have a new project.
Yeah.
And so we help people on what should you be doing. You should be training for a triathlon together. Should you be learning how to cook together? Should you be learning? For us, is we give talks together.
Yeah.
We're doing a bunch of talks together in Barcelona this weekend and next week.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So that's leisure for me.
You know, it's so interesting. So many people who join the Doctor's Kitchen app have actually stated that they're older couples and they wanted to get healthy together.
Right.
And so usually, I mean, I'm not making generalizations here, but it's usually the female in the household who sort of like comes up with the idea, but then naturally by way of them practicing together, they start cooking the recipes, and then the husband or partner just like chimes in and gets involved.
Gets interested.
And then like sends us messages like, this is great. And like,
That's
you know,
right.
feeling healthier and more energetic and stuff. So it's great.
I'm running off with my reception.
Hopefully not. It's kind of the antithesis to,
I know.
to happiness.
It's like, how many marriages has the Doctor's Kitchen broken up?
I think we've generated more.
Good.
It was interesting what you were saying about Einstein and how books were being distracting. You know, I as you were saying that, I thought in 40 years from now, people are going to be saying that about phones.
Yeah.
Like, I wish we were back in the day where it was just like phones that we could physically remove,
as opposed to the chips they put into our brains where we became cyborgs.
Yeah.
Woe be unto us.
Yeah.
Woe be unto us. I mean, there are all kinds of good ways to use the coming AI
For sure.
for a greater well-being, but there are all kinds of ways to use them that will destroy our well-being too. And we have to be really, really prudent about this. The whole point is, you know, the Pope just put out an encyclical, which is a letter to the entire, you know, worldwide 2 billion person Catholic Church about AI.
Okay.
And he said, here's the point. I mean, he's the Pope, so he's not like he's a technologist, you know, but he was working actually with a couple of people from Anthropic. He said, AI is fine if it makes you more human and not less. And this is kind of the point of all technology. Does it make you more human or less human? Now, there's science on how to understand that. The human brain is hemispherically lateralized, which means it has two hemispheres and they do different things. The left hemisphere is the complicated side that does information and facts and stuff and how to and what. That's how your car works, is a left hemispheric problem. The right hemispheric problem is the complex side. That's easy to understand problems that you can't solve. You can only live. That's mystery. That's meaning. That's love. That's purpose. That's happiness. So your car is left hemisphere. Your marriage is right hemisphere. I promise you right now, young man, you'll never solve your marriage. You'll think, you know, people are like, we still fight. Can you believe it? Yes, of course you do, because you're two humans, two dynamic. That's being fully alive together. Right? That's the dynamic of two human beings actually walking into the future, is two right hemispheres working simultaneously, trying to understand the relationship without trying to solve the relationship. Technology is good for your left hemisphere. It's terrible for your right hemisphere. So if you use it to, you know, make your work a little bit easier, good. If you're using it as your best friend or to get the girlfriend experience or as your therapist, don't do it.
Yeah.
Because your brain knows the difference.
Yeah.
You'll get more depressed, more lonely, more anxious. And the moment it'll be like, that pornography is pretty good. The more you use it, the lonelier you get, because you're not getting the right hemispheric experience that your brain demands, that your soul demands.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I wanted to ask you about was this pursuit of meaning.
Yeah.
And in the context of people who perhaps haven't actually considered it at all as something to even ponder on.
Yeah.
Why should we be asking ourselves these difficult esoteric questions? Like, what is the purpose behind that? Like, can I just live my life, remove the phones, eat well, love my wife?
Yeah. That's actually a pretty good strategy, right?
I mean,
there.
that is,
that's kinda, because doing that, especially removing the phone and loving your wife and eating right and getting to the gym and playing with your kids in the park, you're going to have the boring interstitial moments.
Yeah.
I mean, you're actually going to, your brain is going to work right. That's how my great grandfather, Leroy, that's how he lived his life.
Yeah.
You know, he also went to church and read his Bible and did all those things, but those were ordinary life. The point is that today, that's not ordinary life. The problem is that life that you just described is anachronistic.
Yeah.
That sounds like life 20 years ago or 30 years ago. For somebody who's listening to it today, that's like, that's my grandfather. You got to recreate that is how that comes about. And to recreate that, you have to be purposeful. You know, my great-grandfather, he also didn't go to the gym because he was picking up heavy things all day long. And what am I doing in the gym? I mean, I was at this like Anytime Fitness in, in Central London today. And it was like, and what I was doing was I was pretending I was my great-grandfather, like picking up a heavy thing and putting it down and picking up a heavy thing and putting it down. It's pathetic. Yeah. Right? And so in all sorts of ways, we have to recreate that existence where meaning came naturally.
Yeah.
In all the things that we do, pondering things that we can't understand. I mean, there was no internet, so you didn't know many things. And so you had to ponder things. And that ponderance per se made your brain work right. It was mind wandering. It was also the stimulation of the right hemisphere of your brain where meaning exists was on that. So every major philosophy and most religious traditions are based on unanswerable questions. Right? You find that, the ancient Hindus would ask questions that can't be answered.
Yeah.
That's what the Greeks called aporia, was a practice of puzzling questions. The Zen Buddhists have koans. They'll ask questions to the junior monks. What is the sound of one hand clapping? Right? Things ponder this. There's a famous koan of a junior monk walking down a path, his mind wandering in the forest, and he sees a senior monk coming toward him, and he greets the senior monk, and he says, "Where are you off to?" And the senior monk says, "I don't know." He says, "Why don't you know?" And the senior monk says, "Because not knowing is the most intimate form of knowledge." Ponder. And so it doesn't make sense in its way, but the more that you think about it, the more that it makes sense without actually solving the riddle. It's that deep understanding. It's the Dalai Lama's contention that you shouldn't meditate so you feel better. You should meditate so the whole world feels better. That's something that actually is worth pondering, because in so doing, you will open up the right side of your brain. And once again, don't go find happiness. Do something so that happiness finds you. Yeah. Don't go find meaning. Do something so that meaning finds you. Yeah. And doing those questions, meaning it's like, I don't know what it is, but I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what we want. Your brain is supposed to work that way.
Yeah. Well, you've certainly convinced me. For people who are listening to this, and granted, everyone's got their own starting point. Yeah. But if there is a commonality with where you think people should start,
right?
If they put their AirPods down or whatever they're listening to whilst they're listening and watching this as well, where would you say most people should start?
Yeah, most people should start with eliminating more of the problem.
Okay.
So we have a big addiction problem, and we have something that's impeding our ability to live the way that we want.
Yeah.
And if you went to the doctor and there was something like that, I mean, if you're basically, you went to this physician, went to you, and if I were, 100 pounds overweight, which is happening all the time in UK and the United States, are two very fat countries. And I said, I really want, I want my blood profile to be better, and, I want to live longer, and I've got all these health problems and my joints hurt and all that. The first thing you'd say is like, we've got to take off this weight.
Yeah.
You have to, and to do that, you have to stop doing the things that are making you overweight. So that's the place that we need to start. You can't actually start down the road to finding greater happiness and meaning until you get rid of the thing that's making it impossible to be on that road in the first place. And that means a better relationship with the modern world. That means raging against the machine a little bit. That means having a proper ordered relationship with the thing that has actually crowded out a lot of your actual relationships. Your relationship with your partner, your relationship with your kids, your relationship with God. The phone's in the way of those relationships right now. And that means getting a properly ordered understanding of it. That's why this meaning book, the first thing that I do is I say, what does meaning mean? What are we looking for? The second thing is, why is it harder to find? Do the science. And then say, before we can actually do these practices that used to be automatic and now aren't, now stop doing the thing that made our life change in a deleterious way. Not completely. Stop it enough. You can start being fully alive.
Yeah. Just get out of our own ways.
Yeah. And all the protocols we've talked about here. Yeah. It's not complicated. It's beautiful, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Prepare to be in love, folks.
I know. Absolutely. That's why I keep on telling my wife about my silent retreats, like it sounds scary, but the whole point of it is the uncomfortableness, is the boredom. I'm
even the suffering, the suffering, which is another way to another way to find meaning is to suffer, is to understand your suffering.
Yeah. I'm really intrigued by your trips to India, and given how often you go every year, is
Every
that
year,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. And how long do you spend there?
I usually spend a week to 2 weeks a year.
Okay.
And I'll do some public speaking. I'll do some
Okay.
filming. I'll interview some people. But I usually do. I'll tape some stuff with the Dalai Lama at his monastery, and then we'll share it with 13 or 14 million of our closest friends.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, no,
I
it's
love
great.
that.
It's a real privilege, an incredible privilege. I
Yeah.
met him 2013 for the first time, and I just got in contact with the people around him and said I want to come and interview him for an hour and a half, and they granted me an audience in Dharamsala, which it was hard to get there in those days. It's a little bit easier now.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because the first time I met him, I didn't know what it was going to be like, but it was like talking to an old friend. As a matter of fact, he said, "Hello, old friend."
Really? That's beautiful.
It was beautiful. It was
Yeah.
beautiful. It was like it's a very soulful thing, and the result is that we've had a friendship and a collaboration ever since. We've written together, and
Amazing.
it's a beautiful thing. I'm very grateful for that.
Do you travel around India at all?
Yeah.
Have you been to the Golden Temple?
I have been to the Golden Temple in Amritsar.
Yeah.
I've been to Amritsar. I love the
Incredible
Golden Temple. You're from a Sikh family.
Yeah. I need
Yeah.
to get back out there. I haven't been for I
Yeah.
want to say 8-9 years.
Sikhism is really deeply beautiful. I mean, it's obviously a monotheistic religion. It's highly compatible with Hinduism, insofar as that big Hindu families traditionally would often raise their first son as a Sikh. You're aware of this, right?
Yeah.
And so wait a second. So your oldest son, you're raising him in another.
Yeah, another religion.
That's
yeah.
really weird for Christians. You know, it's like no. And so our oldest son is a Buddhist.
Yeah.
You know? But it's really, really beautiful. It's a highly non-hierarchical religion.
Yeah.
But what a lot of people don't understand is that to militate against the caste system, people wound up largely with the same surname.
Yeah.
So you can't tell what caste they came from.
Yeah.
Singh
Yeah.
is basically, it's like, you don't know.
Yeah, there's
We're
so
all the
much
same.
symbolism within that, you know,
Yeah.
and within the Amritsar and the Golden Temple and the 5Ks and stuff and
And it's the best food in India. Let's
it's
not kid
it's
ourselves.
incredible. It really is. I mean, just like it's made with so much love, and actually the next time I go, I need to spend a lot more time in the kitchens.
Yeah.
Because the fact they feed 100,000 people every single day is just like mind-boggling.
I've eaten at the
to
Golden
me.
Temple.
Yeah, so you
Yeah.
have to. You
Yeah.
have to eat there. Yeah.
Eat with the pilgrims.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it. No,
Yeah.
that's right.
I'll let you know the next time I go.
Please do. Yeah. And maybe you join me in Dharamsala one of these times too.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah.
That would be an absolute privilege.
I took Rich Roll last
Oh,
time.
yeah,
And I
nice.
took Rainn Wilson.
Oh,
who was,
sweet.
we
Yeah,
talked
yeah.
about it a little bit earlier.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I've taken a number of scholars and friends with me along the way. Yeah.
I'll be there in
Wonderful.
a heartbeat.
That's great.
Maybe with my little boy now. Thank you, Arthur. That was great.
Thank you.
I really
love
appreciate
talking to
I
you.
appreciate
and
you
thank you for your
coming
work.
here. Thank you.
You're
No,
making
no.
people's lives better. They're living better and enjoying their lives and
Trying to.
cooking together and staying in love.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's amazing. Amazing. Thank you, man.
Absolutely. Thank you.